Welcome to WatchMojo.com. My name is Mike Pellegrini from Kettlebell Training Academy and president of Le Kip Train with Mike. Today we're going to show you the proper technique of the famous kettlebell swing with some of the most common mistakes made. We're here with Nick, personal trainer from Le Kip Train with Mike, and we're going to demonstrate to you an exercise that we do prior to showing someone the kettlebell swing. So here Nick is going to demonstrate the jump squat first. So you see how Nick is moving explosively from the ground up, and that's the type of energy and full body movement we need to do a swing. But now specifically that swing is coming from the hip, so we're gonna now accentuate that power coming from the hip by asking him to do the same thing but keeping his feet stable to the ground like he has nails in the front of his feet. So he's actually gonna jump but without lifting his feet off the ground. Take a look at this. Now you see all that force coming from the hips. So now after doing that, the body understands that all that force is driven through the hips, squeezing the glutes forward, and that's how you're gonna drive all your power for that kettlebell swing. So now we're gonna show you the proper technique from start to finish of the kettlebell swing. This is the most known and overdone kettlebell exercise. A great exercise, but often not done correctly, a little bit misunderstood in terms of technique. We're gonna set the record straight here. There's a couple of starting positions, but the one we prefer is having the kettlebell a little bit ahead of you, and that will allow you to build up enough momentum in the movement from the get-go so you can start your first swing right off of lifting the weight from the ground. Number two, the movement in the lower body is more like a deadlift. You're bending at the waist rather than at the knee. Once that kettlebell goes in or past the body line, we want to pop it out through a full extension of the hip. And once you've done that, your legs should be completely straight at the top of the movement once your arms have swung up. Your arms should come up to around shoulder level, and that whole action is happening through that thrusting, not by lifting through the arms, but that momentum-based power coming from the hip. Straight legs, hips forward to maximize that power. So Nick's got that weight in front of him. He's in the bent position, swing it back, and there he is popping it out from his hips. As we see, most of that bend is coming from his waist, not his knee. The weight is explosively carried out, popped out from the hip. He's extending his hip all the way forward, squeezing his glutes to accentuate that power. Now we're gonna go over 4 do's and don'ts of the kettlebell swing. This will illustrate some of the most common mistakes made while doing this exercise. Mistake number 1, separating the movement, bending and then lifting the weight with the arms rather than using momentum and that hip drive that we've been talking about. Watch Nick do the first don't. So he's bending, he's slowing down that weight, and he's lifting it with his arms and his shoulders. Now take a look at how it's properly done. Momentum, hip drive, full body, arms and shoulders are just guiding the movement. Mistake number 2, bending at the knee rather than at the waist. That'll make the exercise look more like a squat. Take a look at this. So way too much knee bend, and what's happening is that he's not allowing for maximal hip drive, right? He can't get enough power through the hip this way. Now take a look when he does it properly. Bending from the waist, the knee's bending less. Look at the difference in power, because he can fully extend that hip, squeeze his bum, and he's got ample power enough to do any big momentum-based movement. Mistake number 3, arching the back rather than driving at the hip. Arching the back puts a lot of pressure through the discs in the lower back. Thrusting from the hip, you're using your big, strong gluteal muscles. There's a big difference. One is a lot safer, and you're gonna get a lot more power the proper way. Here we go. The improper way of doing it, arching the back, right? Look at that big arch in the back, he's leaning back, putting a lot of pressure through the lower back. Now watch him do it properly. Hips are fully extended, he's not leaning back as much, but those hips are coming all the way forward. The power is coming from the right place now. Mistake number 4, not maximally driving that hip forward. Here's the don't, not extending the hip enough. Right? He seems to be coming up all the way, but he is missing out on tons of hip power here. Take a look now when he's driving the hip forward all the way. Look how those hips are passing the body line, coming forward. That's it. A little more. Boom. That's it. Now he's getting full maximal power. This will allow Nick, when he's doing other kettlebell exercises, which need more power to raise that weight higher than shoulder, to really get enough drive. So now we know the proper technique of the kettlebell swing and we know what not to do. So go and practice, tell your friends, get your KB swing on, and remember, the more reps, the better.